Hey, what's up? This is Sally Ann Lambert here, and I'm with Super Intelligent Astrology, and I'm here to give you some zodiac sign hacks for the age of Aquarius. And I'm going to just take a moment to switch over to screen share. Let me just do that. How y'all doing today? Let me see, share screen. And all right, now, so I'm going to enlarge the screen. There we go. All right, so let me start by saying back in 1987, when Pluto was transiting my Neptune in first house, I devised this alternative zodiac, not really a system, but different mascots for the zodiac signs, so that I'm going to show you. I was in New Zealand and I picked native birds of New Zealand. And New Zealand is a land that originally it didn't have like hardly any animals, like just some little kinds like rats and lizards and stuff. They didn't really have animals. They didn't have predators. So it was a very safe place for birds. So they had some special birds. And I do fixed star astrology, and I base it on astronomy. But today I'm just talking to you about zodiac signs. And so moving into the age of Aquarius, what we're kind of, dealing with, when do we move into the Aquarian age? When does it happen? It's kind of like the Christians talking about, when does Jesus come? And, it's going to be on this date or this date. And, trying to find a transition point and, this kind of thing. And then we've got, how do we move from Piscean Age mindset or mentality into the Aquarian age? They're supposed to be moving from a kind of like a tribal, into a tribal kind of way of living, rather than like in Pisces, it's like we're all in a big school of fish that all moves together in one direction and another direction, like we're all synced together as a huge global, mess. So here is our Aries mascot from the New Zealand native birds. It's called the kakapo. So when you look at Aries in the traditional sign, it's like we're looking at something kind of either aggressive like a ram, and when they mate, they butt heads, or else, like a sheep that follows. It's kind of like two extremes. So if you have, planets in Aries, or you have Aries as your sun sign, maybe it's a little hard to find your way forward with that sign now. And for the, kakapo as a mascot for Aries, it's a gentle giant. It's such an adorable bird. It's probably, I think, the biggest kind of parrot. It's a ground parrot, so it's mostly on the ground walking. So this bird needs a safe environment. a lot of introduced animals made life very dangerous for it. And so one thing that's interesting about this bird, the male will make a dust bowl, and to call a mate, it will make this booming sound inside its dust bowl, and that will carry out across the forest. The healing power that I have given for the kakapo as the mascot of Aries is continual discovery. And so the advice that I have for Aries moving into the Aquarian age and using the kakapo as a mascot is control your environment and speak to your environment. And maybe use public speaking. For me, I have Venus and Mercury in Aries in the 7th house. And to me, the 7th house is the house of health. So, you know, I just feel like, you know, with GMOs, that's a big issue for me. I have a very sensitive body, you know, to what I eat. And for a long time, most of my life, I've been very, you know, careful to just optimize my health. And I do speak out a lot about that. Looking at the constellations that are in Aries, as you can see, the constellation of Aries is no longer within the sign. So you have these various constellations there. Let me tell you another person who has Aries in their chart, Mariah Carey, and she has Mercury in Aries. And so Mariah's come out recently and shared a lot with her fans, and you know, she's told about things that she's experienced, you know, that have been quite difficult, sort of kind of abusive situations that she's been in, you know, even since childhood. In terms of continual discovery, she has really explored her vocal range and taken her voice, as you probably know, to the very high register, like the whisper register. So she's really very versatile. And the interesting thing, you know, we've learned about Mariah recently is that she actually had some alternative rock music that she put out a long time ago, but she did it sort of secretly. And it was a way for her to express her feelings without having to be the, you know, perfect young lady that she's presented to the world. And so, you know, it's kind of like a grunge rock kind of a thing, and really, you know, getting out your aggro. So yeah, Mariah has definitely expressed that sort of exploration in her music. So moving on to Taurus. This is the kokako. It is a crow. Now looking at what Taurus is usually seen as, it's more like, you know, like the clumsy bull, you know, has a hardworking character, loyal, and probably hard-headed. And so if we look at Taurus from the point of view of the kokako, this is a bird that is limited in its flight range. It's a very elegant bird. I have seen one of them, and I would say that I have met one. It was an interesting experience. I was going through a university grounds, and the bird was up in a tree, and it was evening, and the bird let out this call that I'd never heard before, and I thought it was a flute, but it was just this beautiful even tone flute sound that was just carrying across the whole grounds. And I looked up in this big old tree, and there it was, looking down at me. Um, so, you know, it is an endangered bird. And I mean, a beautiful voice for a crow, you know. What I see as the power of the kokako for Taurus is different kinds of leadership. And I would say, as in politics, we talk about left wing and right wing. Well, a bird needs both wings. And I think, that is something that we can bring forward into Aquarius from Taurus. I'm a Taurus sun sign, so I have the sun in 7th house in Taurus. So yeah, I feel this because I mean, you don't necessarily want to be seen as a cow. And I think the birds give us something moving forward, and it's air, but it's also grounded because a lot of them are walking birds, and Aquarius is an air sign. Who else has something we can learn about Taurus? Let me see. Okay, Pluto in Taurus generation. So Einstein is an example. And when you look at Einstein, he looked at the pros and cons of the atomic bomb, and he was really on both sides, like he was initiating it, and he also was trying to put the brakes on it. With Churchill, we will fight on the beaches, we'll fight here and we'll fight there, we're going to fight everywhere. And he also did painting, I believe. He did maybe watercolor. He was against taking action when it came to this fog that was settling, and that was because they had a lot of coal burning, and I think it killed thousands of people. And the Queen was, almost forced to ask him to resign. And then he just finally, perhaps due to the death of his secretary at the time, he had a change of heart, and he came out just in time, and he said, we're going to do something about this. We're going to have an inquiry, and we're going to clean things up and everything. So, he was, he exhibited this idea of different kinds of leadership. I have to hurry because I've only got 40 minutes to record on Zoom. So I'm going to try and get through this faster, but it's not easy. Okay, so moving on to Gemini. And so Gemini, we can kind of see them, the twins, like, is it a clone? Is it a secret understanding? Peer pressure? If we look at it from the point of view, let me move on here. Point of view of the kiwi. Kiwi is a bird that is very grounded in the material world. This bird has amazing senses. It's like Superbird. If you see in the picture, the ears, they're very large ear holes, and it has super sensitive hearing. It has the nostrils at the end of this long beak. And it can, unlike other birds, even other night birds, it can see infrared. So this bird is like, very strong in, the physical senses, and has whiskers too, for feeling. So also the bird has the largest egg proportionately of any bird. It's like up to 20% of its body weight. So the power that I've given for the Gemini people with the kiwi is intensity. So be the healer. I don't have anything in Gemini, well, apart from Arabic parts. But Eminem has Saturn in Gemini. And we could look at obvious uh, race, developments where he's, like being the first one, like white guy, prominent white guy getting into the black field of rap. I mean, it's international, but it's a very, very black medium. And he had experienced racism as a kid, growing up in a black neighborhood. He even was put in a coma when he was 9 years old from a fight. But also, he's come under some criticism. I mean, rap is kind of, in a way, it's kind of a harsh medium. There's, you're trying to face up a lot of realities and stuff, and sometimes it can be harsh. But for example, he has a song called Unaccommodating, and that was quite controversial. He had a song, Just Lose It. Now, what I really like is that he's bringing out such humor, and this, I really like it, Just Lose It. The video is just hilarious. But he is not really a reader, although he did use the dictionary to help him with his vocabulary. But when he was going through his own healing from prescription drugs, he used comic books to help him through rehab, and he felt like he replaced the drugs with the comic books. Yeah, as you can see, Gemini constellation is not in Gemini. Let me see. Okay, so Cancer. So we tend to see Cancer as the sensitive crab with a hard shell. If we look at it from the Kereru or the wood pigeon point of view, it really has a lot to do with abundance. The bird eats a lot sometimes. It can be too heavy to fly, but it has a huge abundance of little berries on the rainforest trees. And this bird, when it flies, that's when you really hear it, because you hear the wings going whoo, 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 whoo. And that's when you see, oh, there's one, flying past. So what I've identified as the healing power for Cancer with the Kiruru is fixing things and language. And it's bringing us to a point of resourcefulness and just love for the material world. For me, I have Mars in Cancer in the 10th house. And so I really do try to keep it real, and I'm really, paying my karma as I go. 10th house I see as the house of prayer. So, definitely a lot of my spirituality is in there, and I feel like, becoming a hippie as a young woman, it really helped me to get real with the material world. Donald Trump has Mercury in Cancer, and you might say, well, yeah, he loves the material world. He's got gold showers and what have you in his house, but does he really love the material world? And I would like to challenge him to really, really love the material world so much that we can, move forward together on climate change and, GMOs, and just really in harmony with nature and science, good science. Moving on to, there's Gemini. You can see Gemini right there is actually in Cancer. Leo. Now, Leo, of course, we see it as the lion, as the power animal. And we tend to see people with Leo planets as attention seeking. And the female lion is the main hunter. But yeah, I mean, it could mean war. It's a power animal. But if we look at it from the point of view of the huia, now the huia is an extinct bird. But look at the beaks. Look at those bird beaks. You've got a whole different beak structure for the male as compared to the female. And so the idea here is complementary skills and cooperation. So let's, look at that from, as a Leo strength. We can see Leo as all kinds of energy. And, the idea is to embrace all these different kinds of energy and direct it. If you, come across, a person with a different energy, and instead of resisting it and pushing it away, embrace it and make something out of that for yourself. So for me, I have the moon and Uranus in Leo in the 11th house. So that, in the house of profession and friendship. So yeah, Leo is meaningful to me. And at the time when I was developing this, this alternative zodiac, I actually did have a muse. So, that was how partnership worked for me. And for another example, Nicole Kidman, she has Jupiter in Leo. I mean, not so much partnership, but, energy, just, how to work with energies. This partnership comes up later. How do I embrace energies? I learned this only recently. I did a lot of affirmations, and just towards the end of 2019, I was working in Walmart, and I had a very specific moment when suddenly I changed. I suddenly realized that I could let the light within me out to the people around me in my physical environment, and just let that out, and not, like measure out my love to people, but just let it out freely. That was actually a moment of realization for me. So I would say that is how Leo worked for me, and hopefully my life has really changed, moving forward from that. But I guess it's part of mindset training for myself as an astrology coach. So yeah, Nicole Kidman has Jupiter in Leo, and for her, she had a shock when she was just getting into acting, and she was still a teenager, and her mother got cancer, and so she trained in massage so she could help her mother. So that was a really good way of embracing the energy, like quite literally. And her father's a psychologist, and Nicole has said that she has a little bit of every religion in her, and I love that. I think that's wonderful, and I really relate to it. And so that is really, taking different kinds of energy and embracing it. including her husband, Tom Cruise, her ex-husband, Tom Cruise, when he was in Scientology. She embraced a little bit of that too. She's taken a lot of risks in her life. And so, that is part of embracing energy. And I think people who have Leo in their chart, they do experience this. So moving right along. Virgo, how we see Virgos, hardworking, but sometimes, maybe there's a kind of a spinster image there, the virgin. Virgin is a good thing, but sometimes we see Virgo people as, overly neat and tidy and picky. If we look at the Theo as the mascot of Virgo, which is the blue duck, this bird is different from other birds. It doesn't go in flocks. It likes to stick with its family. It's a really tough bird. It lives in white water. It likes that fast flowing water, and it can hold itself underwater by clinging to a rock, to give itself time to get food under the water. So it's a tough bird. So you see, Virgo, the males and females have different voices. The male has a whistle and the female has a rattle kind of voice. It's an unusual duck because it can see straight forwards. With birds having their eyes on the sides of their heads, they tend to, like each eye looks in a different direction. But the Theo can look straight ahead. Maybe it says something about Virgo's, vision, the ability to see into the future, to see, to look forward. The healing power that I see for the Virgo sign is belonging. And what I want to say to Virgos is set the tone yourself, and own it, whatever it is that, you're seeing reflected back of yourself. Just own it. Set the tone of how you want things to be, how you want the mood to be, or whatever. For me, I have Pluto and the North Node in Virgo in the 12th house. And I see 12th house as foreign things. Yeah, I think it definitely expresses as a priority in my life, because language has, I learned a foreign language when I was 11 and 12 years old, and it stuck with me. And I developed a project later in my life, or a mission later in my life, to have 9 dictionary projects to bring about world harmony through a deeper understanding of language. And so I've been working on that gradually. I've done 2 of them. So who else can we see as an example for Virgo? Keanu Reeves. Keanu has the sun in Virgo, and he has been criticized as a wooden sort of actor. And I didn't see that, in him. I appreciated his acting. And I don't know, maybe that was before The Matrix, because when he came out in The Matrix, he kind of embraced that, woodenness, because, in The Matrix, they are kind of, very wooden in a way, or maybe not seen as such an organic thing as wood, but maybe like steel. Yeah, I think he really chose to set the tone in his movies, and he has been really versatile. You could say that he's done Shakespeare, but you could say Shakespeare is wooden in a way, but he brings it with that. I think he always brings it in his movies. And you know, when he was younger, he played the dude, which can be wooden in a way too, you know, like kind of the um but you know, I think he brings some of that, you know, Virgo spirit that I'm, you know, looking at here. Libra. So when we look at Libras, we tend to think, you know, maybe artificial. The balances or the scales that symbolize, you know, the Virgo constellation, they're the only zodiac sign that's not an animal. They're the only inanimate object in the zodiac, in the 12 signs. Maybe, you know, people tend to see Virgo as an indecisive sign. If we look at it from the point of view of the moa bird, you know, I put my own picture alongside of it so you can see how huge it was. The largest bird in the world ever. It's extinct now. And so, I mean, largest bird kind of says it all. They were hunted, you know, when people first arrived in New Zealand from the Pacific Islands, you know, because as I say, they didn't have, you know, animals really. So the birds were the animals. And so they would hunt the birds, you know, instead of just eating fish, I guess. So yeah, not so easy for the moa birds dealing with humans. The healing power that I'm seeing here for the moa bird is discipline. And what I want to say to Libras is to go for creative solutions. And so I always say, you know, technology, the effect of technologies, and be able to say no to technology. Me, I have my ascendant in Libra. My dad was a Libran. Beyonce has her ascendant in Libra, and you can see her creative solutions in dance. And she brings issues like when she headlined in Coachella, she brought the, you know, Black women and the power of Black women into it as a theme. So, you know, of course, creative videos and so on. So moving along, I haven't been timing myself. Scorpio. So we tend to see Scorpio, you know, dangerous, dark, secret. The Kotari or the Kingfisher is actually it's an interesting bird. So when it's going to make a nest, the male and female will get together and have a little discussion. And then they will have a schedule. They will go at their nest building about 3 to 5 times a day for 5 to 14 days. And it's a very hard job. They'll literally fly hard out. They'll make sort of like a bobbing flight and crash into the tree or cliff face where they want to dig their hole for their nest. And they'll just, you know, like work really hard at this, digging out a little piece with every flight, you know, like just dive bombing. And sometimes they get kicked out of their nest after all their hard work by a rat or an invasive species of minor bird. Super speedy bird. The speed that it can dive to catch a fish is super amazing. And this is a forest kingfisher, so it doesn't only eat fish. All right, so the healing power for Scorpio from the Kotari is joy. Oh, by the way, the Greeks saw the kingfisher as a bird that had power over wind and waves. So what I want to say for Scorpio is, you have the power to get things done. And also, this is where I meant to say partnership. All right. So for me, I have Neptune in the first house in Scorpio. And I did have a muse at the time when Pluto was transiting my Neptune. And and that was, very developmental for me. And Oprah Winfrey, she is an example of, she has Mars in Scorpio. And as far as partnership goes, in her marriage, she and her partner decided that if they had actually gotten married, they would have broken up. But so they have a kind of de facto marriage. Um, she's also, after a long time of not endorsing a lot of products, she made a partnership with the Starbucks guy to promote tea, and she loves tea. She's known as for being able to connect with people. That's really her thing. So an example of the collaborative economy that we hope for in future and now. Um, so Scorpio. So there's Libra constellation in Scorpio. These are the constellations that start in Scorpio. And some of them could have started maybe, for example, in Libra and stretched through Scorpio. So these aren't the only ones within Scorpio, but I just, picked the ones that start off in Scorpio. So here's Sagittarius. So how do we see Sagittarius normally? Maybe irresponsible, maybe even a jerk. Someone who likes travel perhaps, or a sporty individual. So the Tiwai waka, or the fantail, it's a lovely bird. It's very acrobatic. And unlike other birds, that might, try to get away from a human being, the fantail will come along with you and it will follow you quite closely. And it will do all these acrobatics in the air. It's very entertaining and it'll talk to you. But it has an ulterior motive. It's there because you stir up insects as you walk. And so the bird is there to get the insects that you stir up as you go past. And it can follow you quite some ways. The healing power that I'm seeing for Sagittarius is drama. Finding the human meaning, not using brute force, but being goal-oriented. For me, I don't have any planets in Sagittarius, but we can use Nicki Minaj as an example. She has, what does she have in Sagittarius? Sorry, just go back in my notes. I didn't write it down. Okay, Nikki, where are you? Oh yeah, she has Venus in Sagittarius. Okay. So I think, she's given us a good example of Sagittarian responsiveness. And she's, responded to the needs of her fans by helping them with tuition, like for young Black women. And when she hears things that, may be offensive to her, she will push back, but she does it in a reasonable way. And when people were protesting her scheduling a concert in Saudi Arabia, and they were calling on her because of human rights abuses there, that she eventually canceled that concert because of the pressure. So she is a person who, can respond. And I think that shows that humanness in her. And it's a good example of Sagittarius and the Tiwaiwaka. So moving on to Capricorn. So Capricorn, we see Capricorn as the goat, sea goat, taking over the world, authority, power, maybe tyranny. But with the Takahi, well, first of all, the Takahi, it can be a bit of a carnivore. It may eat the young birds or eggs of other birds occasionally, and it can bite. It's a long-lived bird and it breeds slowly. It was rescued from near extinction, another walking bird. So a noisy bird. This bird faces competition not only because of introduced animals eating its food sources, but also its habitat, because it likes swamps which tend to get filled in, or it likes alpine grasslands, and because of land getting taken over for agriculture and so on. So the healing power that I see for Capricorn is magic. And, for Capricorns, use your native strength and call on your own ancestry, is what I want to say. For me, I have Saturn in Capricorn in the 5th house. I see 5th house as the house of hard lessons. I have it conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius. So they kind of balance, but Saturn is a serious planet, Another example in Capricorn is Scarlett Johansson. She has Venus in Capricorn, and she is actually Ashkenazi Jewish, and she claims that as her ancestry. But she's also a dual citizen. She has Denmark citizenship. And as far as claiming your ancestry, she had a grandmother, her mother's mother, who was like a best friend to her. And I think that's so cute. I'm gonna move on here. So moving on to Aquarius. So this is Poa Kai, but let's think about Aquarius's usual characterizations. Maybe friendly slob, someone who is itinerant, who's like wherever, just moving around, maybe has a disregard for the needs of others. But if we take power from the giant eagle, that could be something different. And the eagle, it makes me think of this Bible verse. Is something, I think it's Ezekiel, and it's like just some wordings that just really grab me. Like there's this great eagle full of feathers. I just love this, full of feathers, of diverse colors. And it went to Lebanon, and it took the branch off the top of the cedar, and it brought it to the merchant city. Another power animal, but this eagle is extinct. It went extinct with the moa bird. The healing power I see for Sagittarius is consequences. And I think, with having this power, we can step outside of time. We can move in a timeline of cause and effect, and, past and future. So, moving into the Aquarian age, I feel like, this is quite important for us to be able to really, understand consequences and use this as a power. For me, I have Jupiter in Aquarius in the 5th house, conjunct Saturn in Capricorn. So yeah, I feel expansive and optimistic about the Aquarian age because Jupiter is like that. Michelle Obama, she also, I didn't write down what planet. Michelle Obama is an example of Aquarius, and she has Mars in Aquarius. And so I think she's been effective with this, sense of consequences, with the school lunches program. And she was unsure apparently about whether she wanted to have kids. I think she was quite ambitious for herself as a young woman. But she was able to use what came to her and to really make a family and a life for herself. And no, I think a lot of people look up to her, and being able to step outside of time is just so important for us in this time in our evolution, with all the global warming and stuff and GMOs. This is the thing I really want to push. Well, not push, but I want to stop it. So we're going to move on to our last sign. Hopefully I'm all good with my timing here. Pisces, the fikau, or the laughing owl. It's another flightless bird. I just adore this bird. I just wish I could have seen one, but they're extinct. But they were just barely surviving at the time when colonials moved into New Zealand. They had a cry, like a maniac sound, like a ghost-like cry. And it was considered as a portent of rain. That if people heard the cry of the cow, they would think that it's going to rain. And they would nest in rocks. A very innocent, like very tame kind of bird. I think it's just so gorgeous. I see the healing power of Pisces as the Joker. And I think humor and a kind of silent love, I think, is a power for Pisces. For me, I have the South Node in Pisces in the 6th house. It's not an easy thing, South Node. Violence, it can be a portent of violence. So I think, I've been very careful about Pisces, and quite happy to move into the Aquarian age. But I think it's going to take quite a long time to move into Aquarius. So I think we have to get comfortable with both energies, Pisces and Aquarius. So looking at Isaac Newton as an example of Saturn in Pisces, he set the gold standard. He wasn't actually just into physics. He worked in the mint, and it was kind of seen as a sort of honorary position, but he actually did the job, and he committed himself to it very seriously. And he was kind of like a fraud police. So I think there's a kind of love there, and it's a kind of, maybe an unrecognized thing, because people are not so aware maybe of his role in that way. He had an economic role in the British Empire, in setting the stage for the British Empire, because British money was trusted, the British pound was trusted because of his work. Another example of the same Saturn in Pisces is the Dalai Lama. A person who's very open to discussion about all kinds of topics, even about his sexuality, which is quite surprising. And I think that he has that sense of humor, that I'm pointing at with this alternative zodiac. And he actually has expressed, wishing to leave politics to the government. I'm not sure if that would be the best thing, but I suppose it's a very common ideology today, is to remove religion from government, because he's a government in exile in India, based in India, but belonging to Tibet. So, okay, those are the 12 zodiac signs. I hope you've enjoyed this voyage through the alternative mascots for the zodiac, and some little hacks for the Aquarian age for our zodiac signs. So leave me some notes about how you think these signs can apply to you. You can always, listen to it over again if you want to go back over some of the healing powers. I also have these on Pinterest, so I'll put a link for that too. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye for now. Oh, well, bye when I actually exit the Zoom. Okay, here we go. Okay, this takes me a while.